What is a hypothesis? In statistics, a hypothesis is a claim or an assumption regarding a population parameter. For example, the average of a population or the mean of a population. This is a statement that you see here. The average salary is $66,300. This is a statement or an assumption or a claim regarding the population average, the salary average. So in statistics, this is a hypothesis. Another population parameter is the proportion. Here is a hypothesis regarding the proportion. The proportion of adults with cell phones in Palo Alto, city of Palo Alto in California, is 68%. This is a statement that makes a claim or an assumption regarding the proportion of adults in Palo Alto. So in statistics, this is a hypothesis. In this chapter, we're going to learn about hypotheses and hypothesis testing in statistics. Hypothesis testing is a very important tool in statistics. In hypothesis testing in statistics, we always have two confronting hypotheses. The first is the null hypothesis, or H0. The null hypothesis states the claim or assertion about the existing state of population parameter. The null hypothesis is also called H0. So it's shown by H0 and it's pronounced H0. 0 in British English is pronounced H0. It's called H0. Let's see an example for the null hypothesis. The average number of TV sets in US homes is equal to 3. So this is a statement, this is a claim, this is a hypothesis that talks about the existing states of the population parameter. Here is the average TV sets in US homes, and it gives it a value. So this is a claim that the average number of TVs is equal to 3. So this is how we show this hypothesis. H0, that's the null hypothesis. It states that the population average of TV sets in US homes is equal to 3. What you need to know about the null hypothesis, also the alternative hypothesis, is that it always talks about population parameter. So it always has to be regarding either the average, the standard deviation, the proportion, or anything that is the population parameter. So this is correct. It states that the average of the population is 3. This is incorrect because it states that x bar, which is the average of sample, is equal to 3. So this is not a correct statement for a null hypothesis. You can think of the hypothesis testing in statistics as a judgment session in which we have two confronting hypotheses and we listen to the both sides and then we decide which one is correct. But we always start with the assumption that the null hypothesis is true. So this is similar to the notion that a person in front of a judge is innocent until proven guilty. So we assume that the null hypothesis or H0 claim is true unless it is actually proven that it's false. The null hypothesis refers to the status quo or the existing states of the population parameter. And one thing about the null hypothesis is that it always contains the equality sign. So it either has the strict equality or it has less than or equal to. So it has again equality here, or it's greater than equal to. So again, it has equal sign. The null hypothesis, also the alternative hypothesis, may or may not be accepted. So the example that we had previously for the salary example, the null hypothesis states that the average salary is equal to 66,300. So as you can see here, we are talking about the population parameter, average here, and it has the equality sign, and it talks about the current situation or the current existing state of the population average salary. Now let's talk about the other hypothesis, which is the alternative hypothesis H1. The alternative hypothesis is the opposite of the null hypothesis. Remember that in hypothesis testing statistics, we have two confronting hypotheses. The null hypothesis, which we show it by H0, and the alternative hypothesis, which we show it by H1 or HA, stands for alternative. These two hypotheses confront each other, so they are opposite to each other. So the alternative hypothesis is the opposite of the null hypothesis. For example, the example that we have for the average number of TV sets in US homes, the null hypothesis states that the average number of TVs is equal to 3. So the alternative hypothesis is going to reject this, is going to oppose this, and that's going to state that no, the average number of TV is not equal to 3. So this is exactly the opposite of the claim made in the null hypothesis. The alternative hypothesis challenges the status quo or the claimed existing state, which is the null hypothesis. Also in alternative hypothesis, we never encounter the equality sign, unlike the scenario that it was in the null hypothesis. So in alternative hypothesis, we never have equal to, we never have less than or equal to, we never have greater than equal to. Instead, we have the opposite of this, which would be not equal to, greater than, or less than. So as you see, there is no sign of equality in the alternative hypothesis. The alternative hypothesis, similar to the null hypothesis, may or may not be accepted in our hypothesis testing. In the salary example that we have, so the null hypothesis states that the average salary was equal to $66,300. The alternative hypothesis would oppose this statement and claim and would say, okay, the average salary is not equal to $66,300. So as you see here, we do not have the equality sign. We have the inequality sign, which actually is the opposite of equal to. And it opposes the claim that states in the null hypothesis.